Hi, my name is Sudif, the Managing Director of IDC ASEAN, and I wanted to take a minute to welcome you to IDC Futurescape's 2021 ASEAN Implications. Today, we will be revealing the top 10 digital transformation implications for Southeast Asia. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee, just like how you're watching your favorite streaming site, and join us as we talk about ASEAN, organizations moving from brick by brick to digital bit by bit. In 2020, we saw the global economy come to a screeching halt. This impacted business confidence all across the globe. Economies were contracting, unemployment increased. However, we live in privileged times where there is technology to help us through these trying times. When you look at business confidence across the Americas, Europe, as well as Asia Pacific, we saw a return in this confidence in May to June period for Asia Pacific. ASEAN organizations had the most optimistic outlook moving ahead into the fourth quarter of 2020 and the first quarter of 2021. However, if you look at the countries across Southeast Asia right now, and those who are experiencing post-lockdown increase of infection rates, there's a little bit of a stutter when it comes to how confident businesses are in facing the future in 2021. So when we encapsulate that, we realize that organizations in ASEAN require help. They need to relook their business, they need to refocus, re-strategize, and look at how these priorities are going to serve for the better purpose of business resiliency. So consider yourself right now watching this and think about 2021 to 2022 as the horizon for you to be able to support these businesses in finding their future roadmap and their future horizon. In 2020, we saw ASEAN organizations go through a swath of different changes. In May to June period, organizations are trying to grapple around areas such as cost optimization as well as business resiliency. Our data showed at that point, more than 45% of ASEAN organizations were looking at practices around cost optimization, business resiliency that impacted their core IT practices. So they're looking at very traditional IT spending as a manner to help them build their infrastructure. But moving ahead, as we look at November, we are encouraged by the type of technology elements or emerging technologies that organizations in ASEAN are looking at. Artificial intelligence, IoT, cloud, security, automation, RPA. These are but a few examples of what we have seen ASEAN organizations get interested in as they move along to 2021 and further into the horizon of 22 as well as 23. So these implications are now very big for these ASEAN organizations on restructuring, once again, around their strategic priorities to build towards a resilient organization. So as we stare at that and we understand their priorities, the split in between now is that we find a third of organizations looking at adaptation. We find a third of organizations also looking towards acceleration. And as we accelerate digital transformation practices, we understand that these organizations truly want to understand the essence of technology to help them through to the future. But in repeating myself here, they need help. They require your help to help them restructure and relook at their playbook, and not to tear it up, but to help them in elements to design their playbook on a holistic manner towards their business goals and strategic priorities. So ASEAN is in a very unique position where governments across all the countries in Southeast Asia are supporting organizations in a large way. We truly believe the drive towards digital economies by the government is what's helping to spur these organizations forward. But what truly is going to make up that digital economy? For us, we feel in Southeast Asia, digital ecosystems is truly what's going to make this up. Now consider this fact here, that coming from a point of view as a customer, if I just want to order a single cup of coffee, what are the elements that come into a single cup of coffee that creates your ecosystem? So we have milk, but even with milk, you have options of low fat, you have options of soy, you have options of full cream, sugar, brown or white. Of course, we have the coffee beans, and we have the hot water and the cup. Now, when you mix it all together, that simple element of what we take every day has a huge supply chain around it. Going to the farm and where these coffee beans are harvested, going to the idea of how sugar is then supplied, not just to the factories, but across out into the stores. And milk, how that is processed and brought to its stores to make your cup of coffee. So ecosystems is what is going to drive ASEAN economies going into 2021. And we're extremely excited of the government initiatives to help drive these digital ecosystems in organizations across Southeast Asia. When you think about ecosystems, however, it is imperative for organizations to look outside of their traditional ecosystems. And that's what we're seeing to help enable them into the future. So if they're looking at trying to get coffee beans out, if they're trying to get sugar, if they're trying to get milk out to you, they do not want to get caught off guard again and have their supply chain disrupted. So as they plow forward, they have to think of different manners and different organizations and different sectors that they never once considered to work and collaborate with in order to plow forward for 21 and 22. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for spending your morning with us. Now click on the link to the live webinar where Duncan and Mohit, two senior analysts for IDC ASEAN, who will take you through the IDC Futurescapes 2021 ASEAN implications around digital transformation. Enjoy the rest of the show.